about the ballot process? Okay. So if you will, fill out your form, and I'm gonna ask Secretary Vicky to collect those and tally.
Anybody needs a pen, I got one. But you have to vote for what I said. Yes, yes.
So Molly, did we know the church as a business?
I mean, we're a nonprofit technically. I don't
There are a
know.
lot of businesses that are nonprofit,
Yeah,
that's why they
yeah.
care.
Yeah, I don't know what we count.
I think you
Here.
count as a business, and you'd
I agree.
certainly be welcome on the board, you do know that.
You have told me more than once.
I think the bylaws say.
You wanna be a writer?
and at least the city says that it's business.
Okay.
So did somebody let Gerald in?
Yes.
Great. Okay, well, while Vicky's counting those, I want to remind you that thing in the middle of the room is a device that's collecting video and audio of the meeting. And it's live broadcasting it, not on TikTok, but on the Zoom. If somebody wanted to log in, we have Gerald Sholem has logged in. Welcome, Gerald, and is muted. And as people log in, I or Paul, Vice Chair, will make them participants and also allow them to participate just like you. If you raise your hand or have a question or something to present. Make sense? So be careful what you say and no dancing. How we doing there, Ricky?
I'm on the second ballot, so it's gonna be a while.
So we can close off the election and ask that Vicky report later when the meeting starts. Sound good? All right, so call to order. We're going to start the meeting of the Normal Heights Community Planning Group right now with introductions. Actually, I think everybody knows everybody. Is that right? Let's start with Nancy. Would you introduce yourself to the crowd?
Yeah, I'm Nancy Lawler. I'm on the board and I'm a resident. I'm a manager.
Great.
Emily Kamen, been on the board since 2021, a longtime resident, born and raised.
This is the first time I've actually seen you.
I saw you when I was walking with it.
No, that's. And Paul?
Paul Coogan, on the board, new board, been in Normal Heights for about 11, maybe 12 years. Homeowner, and it's good to see a couple of faces I've only seen in the sort of in the flat world.
I'm Brian, renter and resident. I've been in Normal Heights for 5-6 years now, and in the broader uptown area for the last 9.
And I'm Virginia Ross, your chair, property owner, and have some rental property in Normal Heights.
And my name is Greg Stone, a resident of Normal Heights for a little over 2 years, and I've been on the board joined last year.
I'm Vicki Everidge. I've been resident of Normal Heights for almost 20 years, renter most of that time, and we bought a house about 3 years ago, so now homeowners.
Taylor Average. The same stuff that she said.
Dan Soderberg, I've been here 23 years as a homeowner.
Great.
I'm Alan Hargela. I've been in Normal Heights for about 7 years. I'm a homeowner. Yeah, been on the board for about a year.
Frances Pritchett. I've been a homeowner and business owner in Normal Heights for 32 years and the board member.
And would you mind introducing yourself in the audience, starting here?
Molly Lorden, I'm associate pastor at Normal Heights United Church. I'm just right there.
You remember, I've been here since 1969 and I enjoy it. I'm Dennis Ryder, with the Normal Heights Urban Arts. And and actually I moved here in 1980, then moved out for, after, right before the fire. And then my lovely wife, she, what was it, 2011, we got together and now I'm a resident and homeowner again.
Great.
I'm Kim Emerson, Dennis's wife, and we're here tonight representing also the community recreation group.
Oh, good.
And with the parks here in Normal Heights. And both Dennis and I are founding members of the Normal Heights Urban Arts. So thank you for the invitation to become a board member, but we've got our plate full with the butterfly mural that's going to happen. If there's any updates, if you would like to know anything about that, we're happy to bring you up to date as well.
We'll have an opportunity to take that.
Yeah, take it away, Mark.
Mark Water, I live in Mobile Heights.
Great. Okay,
One more. That would be on the Zoom call. We have Gerald Schoen. And he's here representing Normal Heights for Smart Growth and has been living here in the community for quite a while. I see he's muted right now, but I'll speak for him. Oh, here it is.
Gerald, speak up.
Hello.
Hi.
We hear you loud and clear.
Is that all we get is a hello?
I didn't want to slow you guys down.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. We all want to get home. Okay, that's the introductions. I'm supposed to remind folks that the teleconference is going on and we're going to try to, it is being recorded for the benefit of the secretary primarily. And usually I say something about the chat feature on Zoom, but I hesitate to do that because there's only Gerald on there. And I don't suppose he'll be chatting, so I don't need to say that. Are there any changes or additions to the agenda that you'd like to see?
Yes. I would like to present findings and recommendations on DEI in light of the requirements by the city.
Have the other action items?
Sure.
Okay. All right, let's move into the non-agenda public comment. Actually, this is a time for items that aren't on the agenda for action. And so anyone who has issues or information or questions pertaining to land use under the purview of the planning group could speak now. If you didn't bring up the park stuff, it would probably be at the very end. But you could do that now if you want.
If you, as you like it.
Well, while we're all awake.
Okay, so, I've been resident in Normal Heights for 23 years. Shortly after I moved in, our Ward Canyon Park was just finished. And I know, that some of you participated a long time ago in the planning and what went into the park. And you also, many of you know that the GDP is being reviewed and developed right now at the city. Dennis represents, I guess, the Normal Heights Urban Arts component, but I became, I guess by default, really for the community recreation group. I'm the corresponding secretary. But I'm here concerned about and it's great to see the Lawlers here. And I don't know if you were at the meeting last month, but I'm very concerned about that we don't have a lot of members or activity with the community, I'll just say that the CRG that used to be the Rec Council. And then after that, it was the Recreation Advisory Group. It's gone through several phases as per the city's direction. But we're here just to drum up some more people to come to our meetings the fourth Tuesday of the month. Because what's coming down the pipe is with the city will be the approval of the GDP. And which is scheduled to happen sometime in 2024, but it'll be here before we know it. And what I'm concerned about is that there won't after maybe 25 years ago, there was community input. What's different now from what happened 25 years ago? And so under the direction of Michelle Ciccarelli with Parks and Rec, we're getting sort of like unclear signals about where this is going. There isn't a timeline, but I really want to try to create some kind of subcommittee with the planning group and better communication and bridging. I've been talking with Vicky. Thank you, Vicky, for your time. It was great to catch up with you. Because I'm just really concerned that this is gonna be upon us faster than we wish it had. So there hasn't been a strong leadership with the rec center because there's been some staff changes in COVID, but our first in-person meeting will happen this is March, okay, in March. There was a miscommunication last month. Were you there, Nancy?
Yes,
I was.
I was at the rec.
Okay, thank you for coming, because it wasn't clear if it was gonna be in person or if it was via Zoom, and then a few of us were on Zoom, and then we heard that 5 people were waiting. This is what's going on, so Michelle knows that that I'm here, that we're here. We're going to the Community Association mixer tomorrow night. I just don't think a lot of residents in Normal Heights know that this park isn't finished.
And another thing I'd like to bring up is that this community in 20 years has changed. Back as, there's a couple here that are veterans here. But, so there's probably a lot of different needs, and I think we, as a community, need to voice those needs. And, I know people, we have in our group, the dog park, but there's also a guard, for the community guard. That isn't even, it's in there, but where is it? So these are concerns that Kim and I have, and we have that we're trying to express to our community.
So I don't know what what you could advise us, how we can create a better coalition around this. We have time, I feel. Got just but there's a fact sheet that was developed by the CRG. I'm not sure if anybody ever received that. And perhaps as a corresponding secretary, I could be better at that. But I told Scott Kessler the other day, I'm just an artist, want to do this mural. But I don't want to get politically involved, but I just really care. We just really care. And so we're just here to say, let's work together.
Great.
So
I failed to say that I moved here in 70. Gary, you had something?
1 year.
I just wanted to, this is unrehearsed, but I wanted to agree with everything that's just been said. I sometimes serve as the institutional memory, and I go back decades. And I've been yelling about the need for more parks that long, and nothing really gets done around here, except we talk about things. There's a community association, there's the rec council group, whatever it is now. There's this group, which may or may not have 12 people on it and all that sort of stuff. This is a planning group needs to be focusing on finding projects in the community and coming to some consensus about what it is we want to do to get things done. And there has to be a political part to this too. You have to know who your elected officials are and be close to them so they know that you're out here. So I would just encourage you, I don't know what to tell you to do because I've been watching it go on forever. I've been part of it. And I don't know, I haven't got anything done either. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't have more park space. That Warren Canyon Park has an enormous amount of potential. And it would be nice if there was a community opportunity to talk about it without something controlled by the city and managed by the city to focus on a few little things. We just need to talk about what we want and what we think we deserve and how we're gonna get it.
I have a question.
Paul,
I'm not familiar with your organization, so if you give me just a sort of a high level idea of something here. Recreation Advisory Group,
Yeah.
I hear like, Little League.
Well, it's a name,
I just think
yes.
that's it.
What is
So,
the actual name of the?
so the actual name of the citizen advisory, we're just an advisory group to Parks and Rec under the city is now called it's CRG, the Community Recreation Group. And right now, there's just a few members, such as Nancy and Mark, both your members, Connie Williger, Dennis Ryder, and myself, and Emerson. I don't know, it's been really mixed up lately. I'm sure Nancy would agree with us, but we don't know like when it's happening and so I think Michelle's getting a handle on that because they've had some staff turnover. So, the other group, or it used to be called the Rec Council years ago, and Jim, you were on that.
I was a chair for several years
Yeah.
and then I quit, came over here.
Okay,
The history of the city's relationship with community recreation councils has been checkered
yes.
and squashed, I would say, over the years. First off, as a finish, I'd like to request any of you who are interested to participate, to give you their contact information. You might glean it from the sign-in sheet. So if you wanted to get notices about their meetings, it would be appropriate to give you the email addresses, correct?
Absolutely. I
All
can
right.
pass like this, I came prepared, like I could just
So
pass
would
this.
you-
around.
You want to pass that around
Yeah.
and have people fill it out?
you-
Let me answer one of your questions to how to get more participation. And that is to provide snacks. Seriously, we several years ago had an ice cream social here,
Yeah.
right? Where I think we did it for free or we charged people 10 cents. We had ice cream from the ice cream place over on Adams Avenue.
Mariposa.
People came and socialized and we brainstormed ideas for the community. Including the development of what's currently the GDP, which is a general development plan. That's what the city calls them. And there is one in place now, which includes a community garden in a specific location and a dog park in a location which is inappropriate. And
Yes.
removal of the mock building and several other things.
Yes,
But it's certainly appropriate that we review that.
absolutely.
Another way besides snacks to bring people out is to park bulldozers in their neighborhood. In other words, if people start seeing things happening in that area, then those who are interested are gonna start wondering what's going on. So I don't suggest you actually bring in a bulldozers, but that kind of works.
The ice cream might be easier.
Right. Currently, you have two people on this board who have been very involved, and that's Vicky and Nancy.
Yes.
And I think they count as continuing. Lastly, I think I'll say, and I hope everybody gets a chance to sign up and you follow through with agendas and notices. If you could send out the current general development plan so people can look at it.
I have it printed in. here.
Great.
Yeah, I can in a PDF form.
They have
And-
some really, I think I sent it to you, like 1 to 2 page fact sheets, which is
Yeah.
like the quick and dirty about it, and
Right,
Here it is. And then, this is
and we're not,
Adams Avenue CRG quick fact sheet as well.
now we won't act on it tonight other than
Right.
to suggest that we do have a standing working group called Park and Trail Development. Currently doesn't have a chair. That could be remedied when we do our elections at the next meeting in April, or now. What was I gonna say lastly? I think it's always been a hazy connection about who has advisory power, although none of us have power, just advising over land use. This group is supposed to opine about land use in the Normal Heights area. Parks are land. So in many cases, we've somewhat deferred and mostly spoke about what kind of activities we'd like to see. But this group was very much involved in development of that general development plan and from my point of view, would like to participate in an updating of it.
Yeah.
And I have some personal views, which I won't go into because it's not on the agenda. So does that help? And
Yeah, it is, I know we all have a lot of committees and Dennis and I are installing a mosaic artwork in a park, at Brandon Park in Torrance, coming up in the next 2 months, so
Right.
we're gonna be sort of out of, that's why we've decided to come now. However, do we want to establish another committee that meets? Or can we have people from planning come to the CRG, or people from CRG come to planning, or all of the above?
well, I hesitate to start another
I know.
committee. We have one for parks.
Yeah.
And no one is currently listed on it. What I would love to see is a joint
Me too.
event,
Mm.
either in the park or someplace else,
Okay.
between the rec advisor, the
CRG.
CRG and this group
Great thought.
to bring people together. And it could, I'd be glad to host it. I would be glad to host it here, or the new chair would be glad to host it here.
So perhaps we could get somebody from the city, I'm hoping,
Oh,
who
yeah.
can come and give us a presentation.
Sure. We will lean on it.
I think it's, yeah, important for us that don't really know much about what the
Right.
process is
Right.
or where it stands, either hear from other members or if we want to get the city
Right.
involved from that point, yeah.
Because it would alarm
I-
me, sorry, just I'll say one last thing, because I
Sure.
think this is important, and it wasn't being recorded, and what, we weren't taking notes because we didn't have, just the meeting fell apart, but all of a sudden, Michelle Ciccarelli is saying, we also need a chair, we also need a vice chair. And that it's crucial for that group because, quote, the CRG is going to be voting on the GDP.
Is there a date?
No, and that's what I keep asking her about. But all of a sudden, it felt very urgent to her. And that's why I'm like, wait a minute, we need to come now.
I know
before we're out
Michelle.
of town a couple
How
months.
about,
Might not
um,
happen for 6 months, but
I'll contact Michelle
okay,
and ask her to appear at our April meeting or send a representative.
wonderful.
Okay?
She knows we can't, she knows I'm doing this, we're doing this.
Well, I see her once a month
Yeah.
on another venue.
All right.
Okay, any other public comment
Can I
issues?
just ask a quick follow-up
Sure.
question? Do you meet at the rec center?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So it's the fourth Tuesday. It's going to be in person now that, they're lifting things. So
Aye.
Tuesday of each month,
Time,
6 till 7:30-ish. At the rec center at the west, I call it the west side, next to the park.
and there won't be snacks. Is it live or teleconference or both?
I'm asking Michelle about that, like, can it be hybridized, because we won't be able to attend the next 2 meetings and she said she would try to do something. I have no idea.
I imagine that the CRGs are gonna be under the same requirements as the planning groups, and that we'll be required to have in-person meetings,
Okay,
but I don't know that for sure.
I don't
Okay.
have the technology in the building, but we'll see.
I have
Nancy,
a question on the advisory group. Do you want to report now or do you want to wait till it comes up on the agenda?
we're on the subject, we might as well cover it now, if that's okay with everybody? Yeah, go for it,
Okay,
Nancy.
this is an event that's gonna be at the Ward Canyon Park. And it's gonna be on March 25th. From 10 a.m. till 2 p.m.
10
The
a.m.
Humane Society will be present there. And, let's see what it says here, how to read this part. And they're going to have, canine ambassadors. I don't think Charlie's gonna be there, 'cause my husband's getting ready to have surgery. But they're gonna be there and they're gonna be giving away free pet ID, tags if you don't have one for your dog that's current. They're having free spring family photos. And they're gonna have their ambassador dog, Chance the dog, and possibly some foster dogs will be attending to this event. And probably be an Easter egg hunt, and there'll be probably a lot of dogs. That's why I kind of thinking to bring my dog there because I don't know how their dogs with shots and everything. So, and my husband having surgery and he's having the 22nd and it's the 25th, so. So it's gonna be at Worm Canyon, and if anybody would like to go there,
Great.
and it's a park and rec event.
That'd be a good opportunity for someone to drum up some participants. It's a controversial issue about where and how we accommodate dogs. Great. Is that it, Nancy?
Yeah. I just
Thank you
wanted
very
to let
much.
know that's going.
Jim, I was gonna add one more thing. I'm not sure how familiar you might be, but the Uptown News newspaper does accept op-ed contributions.
Oh, that's it.
And they have a pretty wide readership in the area. Granted, it's much larger than Normal Heights, it's most of Uptown.
Yeah.
But they are usually very receptive to those kinds of things.
So you're suggesting like
Like an op-ed of some sort.
op-ed representing the CRG or the park or
I think the,
which side would it come from?
You could put an invitation to the meeting.
exactly,
Oh.
even just a notice or a call for representation or a call for members to people to join, that's kind of what jumped to my
Right.
head, because that's gonna reach outside of this group, here.
I just don't think a lot of people realize that this park isn't finished.
Right.
Right.
And maybe to that, like, did you know, you know?
And that this is
There's,
the
like,
chance
cool
to,
stuff that's happening at this park and, okay. I just
All right,
came up with an idea. Thank you. Good idea. Good idea.
moving along. We have approval of the previous meeting minutes. Provided by Vicky. Is there a motion to accept, or are there any changes that need to be made? So I'm looking for a motion.
I'll move to accept.
Thank you, Ellen. Is there a second? Thank you, Paul. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining. Great. Thank you,
Who's
Vicky.
abstaining? Sorry.
Nobody, I
Oh,
just
no,
did.
no abstaining.
I asked if anyone. Let's see, digital communication. Anything of note going on Nextdoor, Facebook, or others?
We have treasurer's report before that, Jim.
Oh, excuse me. Treasurer's report?
No funds have been spent.
Thank you very much.
208599.
Sounds right.
And I'll bring up but not ask, if this owl device works for us and continues to be useful, I'll ask for reimbursement. I bought it. And hopefully, we may get involvement from the Kensington Talmadge Planning Group, who also meets here, has similar needs probably for use of it. And the Business Association, and what the heck, why not the CRG?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Okay,
well, it's mine right now,
right.
but exactly.
Great idea. Thank you, Jim.
And perhaps when I send out the next agenda, I'll link people to the recorded previous meeting. So you could look and see how it worked for people who don't attend. All right, now. Anything with Nextdoor, Facebook? Nothing?
Did we get the agenda posted onto our Facebook page?
I put it there. Okay. Oh, excuse me, I put it on we have a new website for the planning group, thanks to Brian and Paul and Alan. I think you helped. No?
No.
Then you don't get thanks. So we have our own website, and I posted the agenda, and I'll ask the minutes to get up there too.
Okay, I was thinking, in the future, we can get we can post both on the website and on Facebook.
Good.
Yeah.
Would you take responsibility for that?
Sure.
I believe it was my responsibility as secretary to post on Facebook, but I've been
Even better.
relaxed the past 2 months.
Well,
And well, you could get the new secretary to do it.
yeah, as soon as we get one.
it's also possible, we should probably cross-posting, I don't know if we have a Twitter account or a Mastodon account or Reddit account or whatever, but we can cross-post automatically to the rest of those. We can't cross-post to Facebook, unfortunately, but we can cross-post to.
So I'm gonna ask you guys to take that up off.
Yeah.
offline.
That's a thought.
Make it so,
Yes, do it.
as they say. Star Trek. Okay, on the action items, I have tree replacement. I think Gerald, you've been mostly involved with that. I wondered if you'd like to speak to it and so I'm going to ask Gerald to unmute himself and bring us up to date on his request for tree replacement for the city. Gerald?
Sure. So one of the things I've been noticing that kind of caught my eye is the removal of a lot of the canary palm trees that have been blighted by an aphid, and they've been forced to take the trees down, and you know there's not much saving them. And we're seeing that the city removes the trees but never replaces them with anything. And then just kind of looking around as well, a lot of homeowners are removing their trees and going low water usage in their house, which is to be commendable. But one of the things that I think is bad is that it's reducing shade in the neighborhood. Also, trees act as not only shade, but they also reduce the temperature in the neighborhood, which people that are cooling their houses here in the desert, it's kind of a snowball effect. The trees pull out the carbon from the atmosphere, but if you get rid of the trees, now we're turning on our air conditionings more, and we're actually generating more carbon by using more energy. So my request was to have the city arborist, when the trees are removed, that they should replace them immediately, and then water them themselves. I did hear back from the our council rep Ben, and he talked to the city, or got information from the city arborist. It's unfortunately the city arborist does not have any contact information, either email or phone number. You can't talk to these people, and I know that they're run by the city streets, but good luck trying to find a contact to talk to. But one of the things that they have said is that when they remove a tree, they leave information behind with the homeowner saying that if they would like, they would replace the tree, but they ask that the landlord to water the tree for 3 years. And I asked for information, how successful has that been? Because to date, I haven't seen a single tree that the city has removed replaced, at least in our neighborhood. So I doubt it's been very successful. So my recommendation is the city take the initiative in their own hands and go. And one of the things that's kind of pervasive with this is that if you look in areas that are less affluent, there's a shade deficit, and there's actually several studies and articles out there. The New York Times put one out there. I'll put it in the chat if anyone wants to read it. Where less affluent communities actually have a lot less shade trees. Just because people either don't know that they can get trees for free and put them in their neighborhoods, or they don't want to spend the money to water the trees. Water is not cheap in Southern California. So, if the city has a climate action plan, it's not showing up in terms of their trees.
So Gerald, thank you. And I think many of us think that's important. The specific action you're asking, did I state it correctly in the agenda?
Correct. Yeah. And I don't know if I would like to maybe add to that is to, one of the things that you can see in here is that additionally request the city to review areas on easement that lack trees and add them. And, and not just when they remove them, but also be proactive. Again, if you go like walking around the neighborhood, people have removed trees from the easement, which I think is actually illegal. But, the city doesn't really have an enforcement arm for that. I guess they would rely on us as neighbors to rat our neighbors out using get it done or whatever, which, I'm not trying to do, but maybe more bring awareness to it that, we really need trees. There's so many houses that, in Normal Heights. And then if, north of Adams, there's room to put trees. South of Adams, where there's lots of apartment buildings, landlords have paved over the easements with concrete so cars can park. A lot of areas have their parking on the front. I'm not sure what can be done. I think, Jim, if you recall, when we did the bike ride, it's been 3 years now, where we went and actually talked about this, that, is there a way that the city could actually maybe dig up part of the concrete, but still allow parking to happen and put shade trees in areas where there's apartment buildings and there's very little easement, no greenery whatsoever.
Yep.
So,
So the action item in front of us, at the request of Gerald, and I think it's important too, was that we formally request that the city arborist, replace trees when damaged, dead, or removed at the time of removal. And additionally request that the city review areas on the easement that lack trees and add them. Finally, provide watering of the new trees until established during the dry months. I suppose I'll get a motion second and approval of this action. And based on that, if I do, I will write an email to the city council and someone with streets department to ask them to respond if they're going to, and to what extent, and maybe get them to come to the next meeting. Would that meet your needs, Gerald?
absolutely. Yeah. And again, if we could emphasize, if we,
Not again. We just need a motion in a second and we'll make it happen.
no, I'm just gonna say, if you want in your email, whatever, I don't know how you want to incorporate it, that there's some shade inequities, in our neighborhood.
Tell you what, I'll draft the message and ask you to look at the message before I send it. How's that?
Fair enough. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
I have a
Question well, first, do we have a motion in a second, and then we'll discuss?
I'll motion. I'll second.
Okay, we got Emily and Paul, and now discussion.
Just the term easement, isn't that meant to be like an entryway or exit? I think
I
that, and
think,
they need to stay clear, so I don't think easement is the correct term.
right, yeah, I think he's talking about the most strip along the. So Gerald will work on the exact language for that.
Okay, yeah, I don't know what you would call it, but I've always understood that the area in front of your house, the first 4 feet off the street, is called an easement, the city easement. But if there's another appropriate term, let me know.
And Vicky will do the research and come up with a good word for
I
it.
could probably Google it right now.
Any other discussion?
I have a question.
Sure.
Is there any in terms of strategy in making this a sort of District 9 issue with?
District wide rather than just,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that would muddy the waters. Kensington has a, per capita tree rate higher than any neighborhood in San Diego, but if you felt like that would inspire greater
So
action and involvement.
if I copied not only the city council member for District 9, but also the other mid-city representatives who we have a coalition with developing. Good idea.
Yeah.
That's in favor of the motion, right?
I had a kind of ignorant question.
Sure.
So from my understanding, the city arborist is pretty hard to reach, so there's no clear policy right now on what the city does, like about trees that are damaged, right? There's nothing that's been
And
shared.
I imagine there's a difference between the trees that are taken out on private property and others that are taken out on easement property. I imagine if there is, we'll ask what it is.
Yeah,
What
it
is
makes
there?
sense. Yeah.
Just a second. If I don't write it down. Okay. Emily. Francis.
I'm out.
My
I'll get you
one
straight.
across the street neighbor had a canary on, that was dying. In fact, we had 2 removed right across the street from us last week. And I had a conversation with the one that was in the parkway. I think it's called the parkway. I may be wrong.
That sounds good.
And I said, well, are you gonna, what happens now? When we get another tree? Oh, yeah, the city will give me a tree, he said. But I don't know whether I want a tree. They're messy, I have to water it. So that's my little bit of information to.
Yeah, I've used the city free tree program on the parkway at a couple of locations. I just had to say I would water them. And they look nice.
And then the other one that was taken out at a kind of dead end bit of the parkway, and I don't think anyone's gonna take responsibility. That tree will probably not.
Well, maybe we should take responsibility. Use our funds to pay for the water. Any other questions or comments about the motion before we vote?
I do.
Yes, sir.
Gerald and Francis, you saw them take out the trees. Are they just cutting the trees down or are they actually coring them and getting the roots out?
Well, I'm not a tree expert, but it looked like they came back another day and kind of, they had this
Okay.
giant sort of claw thing
Okay,
and like, I believe took out the roots.
Yeah, they've actually gone through and they call it a stump grinder.
cool.
But they actually do, I hate to say this, derogatory, but a very crappy job. Yeah, they should be, leveling the ground and allow for better, but in some areas you can actually see the old stump still sticking up a little bit, and it's just really not conducive to planting new trees.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I asked.
Yeah.
Can't really plant a tree where there's already.
Yeah. So if they had to actually put a tree in there, they might actually remove the old one better. Yeah.
Okay. Ready for a vote? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed or abstain? Any tree haters? No? Okay, thank you, Gerald, for bringing that forward, and you and I will come up with a draft and send it to as many people as we think are appropriate.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Next, Paul, I made you aware of a grant opportunity and you did some research. You want to tell us about that?
Sure. I'll share this on the screen for what it's worth. I don't have people in the room.
Ooh, now we get to see share screen.
Should we have done the election first before we voted? So,
Oh, we've already voted. I mean,
well, what if somebody didn't get elected?
any change will take effect at the
Oh.
next meeting.
I thought it
So you still get to vote.
was suspense, and so, no, I want to build suspense.
Before we go to the grant program, maybe you'd tell us we're all in high suspense.
Everyone who was a candidate was unanimously voted back in,
Rick?
and Rick actually got 3 votes.
Oh, well, good for him.
So, yeah, and we have 1 write-in, which was Gary Weber. Not that he wrote it himself, somebody wrote Gary Weber in.
Actually, Gary had said he did not want to serve, and because here's a little history. We previously had a board member who was a verbal, if not physical threat to other members. And we had to have that person removed. He was not physically removed. But at the next election, he put his name in to be elected. And he got 1 vote. Guess who voted? So we put in the bylaws that you have to have at least 2 votes. So, sorry, Gary. So if I'm correct, we added or re-added 4 people,
Yeah, we just don't have Rick.
right? And 4 plus the people we have does not bring us to 12.
Oh, everybody also voted for you for fill-in.
Well, I think the order of events is first we find out who was elected, who wasn't. And if there's a vacancy, you can decide to continue the old guy, me, on the board. So it sounds like you're putting up with me on the board, but we're having our election at the next meeting. And I respectfully will not be running for chair, which I think is appropriate because of. All right, so we have the results.
Yeah.
Great. And does that bring us to 12? I'll let you count while we're doing this other issue.
Okay.
What was that?
Oh, Taylor just joined her.
Oh,
He's checking out.
Yeah.
you owe me $10 for talking.
We actually have 13,
You have 13?
including Scott. Yeah.
Oh, then you don't need me.
Well, I'm stepping down next meeting. I
Oh,
will be on
that's
the
right.
board.
That's right, okay. All right, so I think we're finished with the election and we know what's up. Any questions? No. Okay,
I've got a question.
yes,
So is Rick on the board? Has he got 3 votes?
He arguably is, but I think I'll try to contact him, and if he doesn't respond, we'll drop him for lack of attendance.
Okay.
That makes sense?
I mean, we've tried to
Are we
contact
already
them
at that point?
multiple
Yeah.
times.
Well, when you send an email and it bounces, does that mean?
Not tonight, well, I don't know.
If you got 3 votes.
I
you
mean,
got
somebody clearly, maybe a couple people weren't paying attention and just went like this,
Yeah,
but,
He's missed 3 in a row.
yeah.
right,
That's grounds to dump him.
yeah, but we just reelected him,
Yeah,
so he counts for. Okay.
so you don't get me.
I think Jim wants out. That's what I'm hearing now.
I want to join the CRG.
I don't vote.
Okay, I think we're done with the discussion of the election. Thank you for that interlude.
Mhm.
Back to Gary. Those of you who are on the internet, if Gerald's still there, or have your laptop on, can see that the information that Paul has provided is being shared. If we purchased or got use of a projector, we could project that stuff. So we may try to move towards that in the future. Right, Paul?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Paul, go for it.
Okay. Feel free to pick up the iPad there if you want to see the slides up close. I don't have a printout of these slides, but I'm speaking to them. It's mostly a sort of spoken presentation. Question is, how do you go to the next slide? Okay, so this is a program from Caltrans that provides funding to underserved communities. Program is designed primarily around making environment cleaner, waste containment, enhancements to parks, green space, even plantings. They want to mitigate the urban heat island effect, which Gerald was speaking to earlier. And they also want to make more public spaces and community placemaking in underserved communities. So totally, in total, they have $100 million in grant funding, and that is contingent on state budget, of course. They always have a little caveat there. The applications are due April 28th, so there's not a lot of time to put together an application for this. They're having an application workshop tomorrow, which I'm going to try and attend. And then the project award notification is in August, September of 2023. Each grant award is between $1 and $5 million. So there's quite a range in there, but that's a cap limit on it. I suppose if there was a severely underserved community and they wanted a really big park and there was an opportunity, they could probably get that. But I think most of the grants that are going will probably be smaller, sort of in the, 10,000 here and 10,000 there. Eligible projects, they've suggested things that are litter abatements, educational programs to, hey, pick up your litter. Locations can be local streets and roads, pathways, transit centers, but it basically has to be a public space. And it has to be under the applicant's jurisdiction. So we would be applying as part of the District 9 or as a community planning group. There is a contingency that it has to be partially or fully located in an underserved community, and at least 75% of the population surrounding the project site must be underserved. So there's a little bit of a tricky calculation there, and I'll have more on that in just a minute. I have a list of eligible projects. I'll just list them very quickly. There's shade structures, shade trees, drought tolerant plants, irrigation systems, architectural fencing, art installations, gateway monuments, human scale lighting, walking and biking facilities, wayfinding signage, waste collection amenities, seating and playground, public bathrooms, water fountains, and it also includes, you can pay for project staff salaries and maintenance on the project up until June 30th of 2026. And some travel expenses are also included. So as far as qualification, they have 5 ways of calculating your qualification. So the first one is area median income, which needs to be less than 80% of the statewide median, which is 67,278. Of the areas that we have in Normal Heights, there is one area around Ward Canyon Park that qualifies. The rest of us are a little too wealthy. There's the second option is the Cal Enviro screen, which is basically California EPA has come in and said it's a sort of like Superfund site or needs, you know, some repairs. We don't qualify for that. Option 3, I haven't looked into extensively due to time constraints, and that's if you have 75% of public school students in the project area are eligible to receive free or reduced price lunches. So that is a figure that we would be able to get. It's publicly available. I just haven't been able to figure out where to look it up yet. And then there's a Healthy Places Index. This is a map that's published, and you have to be in the 25th percentile or less. We don't qualify. Some other parts of Mid-City south of us do. So that might be of interest to them. And then the 5th option is if you're on Native American tribal lands, which we are not. So this next slide is just a map of the Healthy Places Index, and it's pretty much what you would expect. Further north you get, the greener it gets, the healthier it gets. And then as you proceed south and west, it gets a little less healthy, but you're still above 50%. Our median income is, if you can see the slide, it's basically from 35th and Adams, as far north as Collier, as far south as Madison, and then over to the 15 freeway. So that area that's just sort of like from the Vaughns to Ward Canyon Park, that sort of area is eligible. And I say that as with a caveat because of the matching fund requirement that looks at tracks, census tracts that are around the project area and then how they average out. So it's a little bit unclear if we qualify, but when I approached the sent a message to the contact that was listed from at Caltrans, and their response was sort of equally vague, and they said, apply and find out. So the line is, it says an eligible project should be fully or partially located in an underserved community, demonstrating a direct benefit to an underserved community, and at least 75% of the population surrounding the project site must be underserved. I think that if that's a decision that we would have to weigh, is it worth the effort to try to put together something very quickly and ask for some money? There is also a requirement to have 50% local matching funds that could be from the public or private sources. So the decision point of whether we should proceed with this application, the pros would be that we would get 50% of any project funded for any public space around the Ward Canyon Park or along Adams up to 35th. The cons of the effort to assemble the application and get it in by the 28th of April.
I can think of it. Thank you.
And I've got a few more.
Oh, okay.
I'll
Go ahead.
just go ahead. These are really quick. Let's got potential projects that I had thought of, and I'll push a little. Lighting, they would have coordination with the Ward Canyon upgrades that are already in progress. I think I saw on the sheet that they're short of funding. So this might be an opportunity to coordinate that. Trees, we're in a dire need along Adams and other streets, as Gerald pointed out earlier. And in the garden, we lost the Vera House Community Garden recently. And there is a space along Cherokee Avenue at Ward Road where the street takes a long curve, and they changed the configuration of the street and left a very wide swath of public land that is basically not irrigated and lightly treed. And that would just need some water source fence. Other than that, that's all I have on it. Questions?
So right now, we're dealing with questions about the grant.
Oh, I just want to follow up, sorry. You were looking at me.
Well, there's two things I can think of ways to approach this. Answer questions about the grant. Find somebody who will take responsibility and write up the grant request. And the other is to come up with ideas of potential for the grant. Okay, is there other? So let's first ask questions about the grant, perhaps. Francis?
I just had a question about that area that you just mentioned on Cherokee. Is it a kind of triangular?
Yeah, there's a little mini market there that has
Yeah,
like
okay.
$1.
Okay, that's what I thought you meant. Okay, thank you.
In terms, have you looked at the application? Like how many pages are we talking about, or have they disclosed that? I was just curious.
I have not. It does go like the paperwork that I have seen seems pretty light. It's kind of like they want some suggestions and then they want there's like a worksheet that says,
I think
what's your population and your median income area?
Have we reached out to the Vera House community and seen if they maybe want to apply themselves?
No.
Because I know they
Do
have
still exist?
I don't know. I mean, a year ago, they were very organized and, had representatives and.
And I know that there's also private realtors who would be interested in underwriting something like that, especially at a very small cost.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's also when you said the eligible area, does that include where the Adams Avenue Rec Center is now?
It doesn't quite extend to the park there. It ends.
Because I was thinking the mural needs some more funding, and it's already got half the funding.
Yeah, the laundry.
There's not, but actually my idea was play equipment at the Adams Community Park.
Well, the community park doesn't fit.
Because, the mural, we can talk about the mural later, yes, that's gonna happen regardless. We raised a lot of money.
Yeah,
But we need play equipment in that little park
except it doesn't.
but it doesn't,
Yeah,
now you just said that was my idea, so.
Yeah, the track ends at the laundromat across the street.
Yeah, we figured that out.
Yeah,
Would it cover the cost of a park planning event?
probably, yes.
And there is a community garden like in the GDP for Ward Canyon, so it might, back to the idea of the garden, it might fuel the idea of that community garden group coming back and
Right. So,
helping work towards the GDP in the park
so I've heard several
thing.
worthwhile projects that could use funding and might qualify.
Are there any more questions about the grant itself?
Yeah, we need somebody to actually do it, right?
Yeah.
Gary, you have your hand up, or you just,
Yes, I wonder if anyone here has ever heard of the Mid-City Urban Trail.
oh, right,
The answer is nobody has.
oh, yeah.
You have, actually. This was an idea from 20-some years ago when the transit plazas were being constructed, of tying in to the transit, stop me if you've heard this before, a way to get there without driving a car. And the idea came up with, was called the Mid-City Urban Trail. And it was actually financed, and a section of it was built by Sandag. And that is the section along 40th Street between, more or less, where the transit line is, and more or less where Ward Canyon Park is. that the first segment was not what we wanted it to be because there were too many engineers, not enough planners and landscape architects. They planted some trees. The idea was to have a wider sidewalk through there. It goes through the Warren Canyon Park. And it goes through Normal Heights Elementary. Now, government, it keeps putting fences in the way, and that is something we have to deal with. But it goes to that area around Cherokee and Madison, the free landscape, and it goes over Madison to John Adams Elementary. And that's about as far as the thinking got, because the thinking got further than the money. But something like that could be put together in segments. And it can have some social value as well, like opening up that school so that the Hit City Urban Trail can go through it, where there is a sidewalk built for it and get to the other end. So I just want to throw that out there as one of the.
Thank you.
things we talked about.
I'm glad you brought up, Pam. The question, I think, is who would like to take on a grant application for any or all or each of these? We all, I think it's a good idea in many cases. Off the top of my head, the ones that would probably be the easiest is something to do with the community garden at Ward Canyon Park. Because the city could say it's already half funded it. We got $5 million from the state. And along those lines, I'll contact Lois. Can't remember her last name.
Miller. Lois Miller?
Miller, right, who I think has a connection with the community garden folks, and see if there's somebody there who wants to push it.
I know that a couple of years ago, I think Vicky was on those, now I think it might be 2 years ago, the Vera House Garden Committee, they were looking for a site.
Right.
And they were thinking of that site, but something with the irrigation, or they needed raised garden beds or something, and we couldn't offer that. I can't remember.
They were looking at the Cherokee.
No, they were looking.
They were just looking
They
for
were
a site
looking at both,
anywhere.
anywhere really,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
2 years ago, and we haven't heard from them since.
Yeah.
So,
Well, they're busy gardening.
yeah.
Any other people want to take on a task related to this? You're free to do it on your own or secretly. Anybody can apply.
If anyone's interested, I will work with whoever that is to walk through the grant application process. All the technical pieces. What I would need is just someone to have the vision to say, this is what we want to do. And probably do some legwork on pricing it out. I mean, it could be a shopping list at Home Depot. It could be, like Jim was saying, it could be things for an event to educate the community. It's just an invoice of some kind.
I'd come to your ice cream social.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Thank
Is
you.
this One question, is this just a one-time opportunity for this, or is this a, wow? And
I
what's the grant
believe
actually
this is-
called?
I believe this is part 2 of 2 for this program.
And what's it actually called?
it says, provide your email address for him to send
Yeah,
you the.
okay, I'll-
The Clean California Local Grant Program.
okay,
And I can definitely get you the URL and a whole package of.
we're just leaving town for 2 months, so I'm just, I wish I had time.
Oh, it's gotta happen.
Yeah, it's coming up fast.
So that's why I don't wanna,
Okay,
if it was art related, I can help, if that was something, I could do, put that part in.
We
but-
put it on our Facebook or to spread the information a little further than just us.
go right ahead. I'm gonna contact Lois.
Okay.
It's too bad we don't have lower income people around Adams Avenue Rec Center, or the butterfly mural would have been easy one
Yeah, we're,
to finish out the funding for that.
asked Michelle, at one point to get some triangle sails for the rec center to tie in so the kids could go outside and be in their shade, that's south facing area. I don't know, they've never been about it, so that's asking the city to do things for the city. It seems like
Well, and raise
want
money.
to ask somebody else or do something else, I don't know.
I'd like to move to the next item, which is review and discussion regarding teleconference capabilities and requirements. We are now required to have in-person meetings, which we're having. There are some rules about if we provide teleconference connection, which I hope we do, so that more people can participate. You folks, us board members, are supposed to participate live. There are provisions for skipping up to two meetings, and it wasn't clear whether you could participate teleconferenced when you skipped or not, but they're requiring us to have the in-person meetings. And it's up to us if we want to provide teleconferencing capabilities, and it seems to me it's worthwhile continuing. So any discussion about that? Do you think this still works as a venue?
That seems to work well.
Mhm.
The owl is pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. Right.
I have one question.
Sure.
So they haven't defined whether being, and make sure I'm making sure I understand this, on teleconference for a member counts for attendance or not. That isn't clear yet, or did I misunderstand
Did
that?
you get that? Let's say, Brian wasn't here, but he was participating by teleconference.
Yeah.
Could he be a member participating and vote? Seems to me he could,
Yes,
but he would need a good excuse for not attending in person,
That's my understanding.
broken leg.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
yeah. you just
I
need-
thought too, though, it has to be a designated area, like it's not like he can zoom in from home.
Oh,
Oh, really?
no, yes, they removed the thing about, let's say he zoomed from the home as a board member. Months ago, he was supposed to publish his home address, where
Ah,
he was
okay.
teleconferencing from,
okay.
which is nuts,
Yeah.
and they took that out. Any other questions? I had one concern. It seemed to say that if we offered teleconference participation and the teleconferencing failed, like it went offline, that we would have to end the meeting.
That's, it's an
Yeah, I
interesting
think that's
question,
nuts.
because if there's no one attending remotely, then are we obligated?
Yeah, it's like Schrodinger's,
If there's no board member attending remotely, it shouldn't matter that we're offline.
Right.
Sorry, Gerald. But anyway, I thought that was kind of
that's
weird.
interesting.
I think
What
it's
you
important.
could, what you could do is publish like a phone number, a conference phone number, and just plug in your cell phone and put it on the table as an alternative.
Yeah,
Agreed, that's true.
so if on the agenda, it would have to have that.
Well, Zoom has a phone number to call in on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But if Zoom isn't,
oh, then we could call into the same Zoom line. That's true.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. Internet would have to be working.
okay, thanks, Joe. Any other?
I would just mention that there is the legislation being proposed now that everything goes back to COVID rules.
Pre-COVID?
Yeah, even if we're not under state of emergency, so this might all just be,
Mode.
yeah.
Do you think it might go back to teleconference allowed, is what you're saying?
That's what the bill they're proposing is.
Well, I don't mind meeting with you folks, but having a glass of wine and sitting at home.
I remember when pre-COVID, it was the, oh God, no, I don't want to I don't want people to see my room, or I don't want to have to use my computer to do things or whatever. Now it's like, you mean I can keep up my feet at home? That's amazing.
And I did have pants on at every meeting.
You only have to dress up.
Okay, moving along, we're in the chair report, if I may. It's a quite interesting issue came up at the Community Planners Committee meeting where the planning department representative said that each community planning group was going to be reevaluated and required to update their bylaws. And by December 2024, the group would either be accepted again as a recognized planning group, or somebody else would be. In other words, there could be competing groups wanting to be the community planner representatives. One of the arguments for updating the bylaws was to make it more likely that the planning group reflects, the membership of the planning group reflects the diversity of the community. Which would, I think we'd all like to see. And we're not quite sure how to do that. We're all researching some bylaw changes that might be appropriate. But it's something, almost a challenge from the city planning department to the planning groups to be more representative or lose their opportunity to be the recognized group. Anything else anybody wants to say about that? Paul?
I'll say that, in terms of, the DEI component, the bylaws that we currently have are in alignment with, what the city requires. So there's really no work to be done there. The real work is more of the implementation, and I have a presentation later in the evening for that.
In this meeting?
Yes.
Great. Okay, the other part of the third report is that Paul, Vice Chair Paul and I met with the chairs of the other community planning groups in the mid-city area. You may know that Normal Heights is in the mid-city community planning area, and within that planning area is included the Kensington, Talmadge area, the City Heights area, and I think some of the college area. I'm not quite certain, but in any case, we met informally, and there was a kind of consensus among the three groups that it would be a good idea to collaborate to anticipate the updating of the mid-city community plan. You may know that the city usually hires a contractor, consultant, and spends a year and a half or so reviewing a community plan and then updating that community plan. And that it's been quite controversial in some areas, the college area notably, and some others. And we thought it'd be a good idea to get our ducks in a row in a sense and see what the members of the mid-city community plan area think would be appropriate for an update, and to anticipate the involvement with the city so that we'd have a more likely positive outcome. I think I'm saying that fairly. And in light of that, I'd like to develop a either a standing or a working group to include some ones from this committee with representatives from the other planning groups in the mid-city area to hash out some ideas and bring them back eventually to the planning group for endorsement or adoption. I'll probably ask Paul to chair that subcommittee if he's willing, and wonder if that meets anybody's needs or interests, and if any of you'd like to volunteer to help Paul when he tries to bring everybody together to make this happen.
I'd be interested. I'd be interested.
You're taking notes, Paul?
Yeah.
I'd like you to include Gary Weber, because he's got more history than anybody. Even though he's an irascible and hard to understand person, but I think he'd like to participate.
We went to the city council on August 2nd, 1980, and asked that there be a formal mid-city planning group formed. And they said, no, you're the only place in the city that doesn't have one. And we don't want one there because we intend to keep messing this place up for a generation to come. And they follow through on that. So I would also look at what you just said about they will decide whether or not you are acceptable to them as a planning group. There's some constitutional questions that get involved with that. And I think, I'm curious as to what the Community Planners Committee had to say about that, because you can't take a democratically elected group and just say, we don't like you, we're gonna put some of our friends on here. What?
To respond to your question, at the Community Planners Committee meeting, it was teleconference, by the way. There was a lot of concern and strong objection, mostly concerning, someone brought up the potential of a real estate developer organization coming up with members in the community to form and be a competing group to the planning group, the existing planning group, and therefore rubber stamp and promote higher density in inappropriate ways for the community in order to earn money, which is what developers do. There was a lot of concern for this, and I almost had sympathy for the staff person who brought it forward because he took a lot of flack. In any case, that's still to be developed, we'll see. So we have 3 potential members.
Yes.
You can add me to it too. Great.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate you both going and starting this. I think it's important to have our relationship with some of the other planning groups. And then obviously, I'm sure we're not all gonna agree on everything, but
Oh, come on.
when is the community plan, mid-city community plan update?
There is no schedule.
It's not scheduled.
No, it's old.
And
And
haven't announced.
you could say it's due for, but it's not on the list of anticipated updates for at least a year, maybe 2 years.
It's the first strike opportunity.
We want to be proactive, I think is the word, right?
Yeah.
Anything else on that?
No, but we've got 5 from, we have 5 total. It's Paul, Alan, Gary, Brian, and Greg. And we'll coordinate with the other groups. I'll probably hit you up for some contact information.
We do want to be aware of the Brown Act issues related to subcommittees. And depending on how the group is formed, it may need to be open to the public. Maybe having an open forum. But if it's, well, anyway, look into the Brown Act to make sure we're in compliance. Okay, that's all my update. Do we have any community group updates from the business association? Scott couldn't be here. He's at another community meeting. The El Cajon Boulevard Business Improvement Association, any updates?
They are curious as to whether Normal Heights would like to participate in finishing off the Bridge Holiday Light program where they're putting the lights on all the bridges.
I'll put that on the agenda for the next meeting. How much money would it take?
I don't know, but it would take someone finding that out.
I think I looked into that once. I'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting and we can make a formal decision
I think
about it.
Scott had a good idea with it too, so
Yeah.
to somehow tie the business association in.
Great, thank you, Gary. Anything else from Malcolm?
They are doing what everybody is doing, which is trying to bring density to places where it would fit, like El Cajon Boulevard. The 805, the Fairmont section is a vast wasteland in some ways. And it is mystifying to me. I mean, I do understand real estate economics and what's going on in the way, but mystifying that is sitting there and they're trying to build high rises in neighborhoods. And there's something wrong with that picture.
Yeah.
And they have had developer tours once every year or so. for some time now, and I would encourage you somehow to stay in contact with someone there, to work on these little things like the bridge lights and the big things like the 20-story highway.
We'll do that. Any update from the community association or urban arts?
I have one from Community Association.
Go for it.
The Community Association is having, thank you, Jim, for promoting it, a mixer tomorrow at 6 o'clock at Old Sod, so please come out, invite your friends. We'll have some fun games for like bingo and just a good opportunity to meet and greet and have some drinks. And then also want to give, oh yeah.
Is that gonna be in the back?
Yeah, that's the plan, in the back, yeah, I'll be in the back patio area,
Okay.
exactly.
You go through the front.
Yep.
And then we're also starting and finalizing plans for a extravaganza on April 8th. Yes, it will be here at this facility and the outdoor space that's here to have like a potato sack race that's Easter themed, obviously an egg hunt and other things. So that will be from 10 to noon on April 8th. So
I
should be a lot of fun.
pronounced it correctly.
What was I supposed to pronounce it?
Is an egg extravaganza.
Egg extravaganza.
Double G.
I heard extravagant.
No, thank you for calling that out.
April 8th.
April 8th, 10 to 12. That's it.
Thank you. Normal heights, I'm sorry, Nancy.
Thing, the community thing at the sod,
Yeah.
what was the price? Do you remember?
Oh, there's some prizes around like a bingo game that
It
we're
was
doing.
you had to pay a certain amount.
No, it's
It
open.
was like $5 or
You can be a
$10.
member for $5.
Yeah, suggested donation.
Hmm.
It's not required.
Just say you did.
Less than a beer.
Normal heights smart growth, Paul.
Okay.
Did Urban Arts have?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we gave you a half hour.
Well, if you want to know what the mural, what's happening with the mural, that's our main project. And we're not meeting publicly, but we are meeting, but we're just a very small group right now. And so if anybody also wants to join the Normal Heights Urban Arts, we need a chair. But the mural, we've raised a lot of money for it already, and we've saved money. I got an engineer to do pro bono. That was a requirement by the city. And then we don't have to get permits after all. So we've gone ahead, Dennis and I, we bought materials, and we've actually kind of started a little bit of the production of it. And so we'll be posting some things and having some workshops this summer to invite the community to come and put a piece of tessera in the butterfly wings.
And we actually had a company that water jet cut every single wing. And it was the most coolest process you'd ever see. And it's out of a Durarock, so it's a cement Durarock. And all these 11 wings, they all fit back together. So those 11 wings will individually be put on the building.
Cool.
And there'll be, so each wing will go through a process of being assembled through the mosaic world. And then they will be attached to the building when all 11 are done.
And we really hope to have it finished by the end of the year.
Great, this year.
Yeah,
That's our goal.
All right, very cool.
so, thank you.
Now let's talk about smart growth.
Oh, sure. Okay, so I'm gonna switch hats. So Normal Heights for Smart Growth runs a newsletter server. I'm sure a lot of you subscribe to our newsletter. So what we'd like to do is offer the two Normal Heights Community Planning Group the opportunity to run a newsletter. Because I know that North Park Community Planning Group is doing that. They're using MailChimp, which does have a cost associated with it. And the only thing that we would ask is that we'd be able to put a footer on the newsletter that says, powered by our service.
Great. So we need a newsletter editor.
Yep, that's the price you pay. You have to produce some content. You also have to have
Quiet.
You also have to generate a subscription base.
Ah,
So if you come to us with a list of emails and subscribers and some content. We can get that out the door.
I got about 30, 40 emails. I get it.
That's a start. Let's spread.
Okay, anything else? Is there any update on the Mars project? Or other,
At this point, the 35th Adams Group is managing that through Mike Maggers. We're not particularly involved with that. We're mostly looking at new projects like urban forestry and you name it, transportation infrastructure.
got it. Thank you. Okay, standing working committees, historical property review, Dan.
I don't have one, but I'm gonna look into why I'm not getting any notifications about it, so.
Maybe it's trying to-
The last thing I saw was from October, and it's too long.
I recommend contacting our, if you'd like, I'll send you the email address of, I think his name is Ben, the staff person for city council member. I always forget how to pronounce his name. Yeah,
Yeah, I'll look into that.
yeah, rattling the cage over there.
Because I'm sure that there's lots of projects. Gotta be lots of projects coming through the
Yeah,
approval
and-
process.
And make it clear, we're not against,
No, it's just,
yeah,
it's just for review.
exactly.
Yeah.
Park and trail development, we already covered.
Sorry, can I-
Oh, I'm sorry, Francis.
Yeah, go ahead. There are two houses on East Mountain View
Yeah.
that are, I don't know, one of them was in pretty bad shape, and the other was not in bad shape, and it looks like they're being demolished or something. One of the.
Which ones are you talking
You know what she's talking about? You have some background on that,
Yeah,
Francis.
One of them was from 1911 or something. I mean, they're very.
Yeah, so I pulled together a report on 4951 and 4961
Yeah,
East Mountain View. They're both single family homes with a pool. Each one has a pool in the backyard.
4951, I think, was built in 1911. It's very, very early,
And it's in very bad shape.
really bad.
no,
shape.
no, isn't that the one that's in pretty good shape, the yellow one?
No, 4951 is the green one.
Oh,
The one that's a little further north is in better condition.
yeah, with beautiful.
It
windows.
has been gutted inside. It's just studs inside, so it's ready to be redone. The rumor is that the developer is looking at putting in up to 18 ADUs on the two properties, which would probably be about the maximum under law. They would be allowed to do that based on the new SBA. They are at the 0.9 and exactly 1 mile from the El Cajon Transit Center. Or that El Cajon Boulevard. So they do have the walking distance. They do not qualify for SB 9 lot splitting because they're in a high fire hazard zone. And they would have to use materials that are okayed for high fire zone, just as any other construction would have along the canyon.
So look forward to some new neighbors,
No
Well-
permits have been applied for.
right? Potential.
No permits applied,
No permitting has been applied for yet.
but, so they can just go ahead and do construction without a permit?
No, they can't do construction. without a
Or
permit.
demolition,
They can't do anything. Can't do demolition either.
but you said the one house is gutted.
I don't know, they may have gotten permits or they may not have, but that's its current state.
But,
Not everybody gets a permit for work they do inside of a house.
Oh, it's the inside.
Yeah,
but so to confirm, this is just rumor. You haven't actually seen anything or
What are
done
the,
any official work
no, oh,
in terms of what they plan to put there.
But what he did report that's not rumor is that the potential is that the development could be as dense as we just heard.
and if they do build out to that, then they, some of those would have to be locked into low rent, rentals for 15 years. So you get one bonus ADU for each low rent ADU built, so basically they would have one ADU for the house. And then the next 6 would be three regular rate and 3 low rent rate. So,
But only for 15 years.
but only for
not
15
permanent.
years, right?
You know the house number of that, or?
It's 4951
Oh,
and 4961.
East Mountain View.
Yeah.
And this is a direct result of what we tried to get the city council not to approve, which was the change from walking distance, half mile to walking distance 1 mile.
I was gonna ask another, I just, because they just voted on that, right?
Yep.
Yes.
I was there, and yet.
It hasn't been signed by the mayor yet, so.
Oh, it hasn't.
It would have to be signed by the mayor, and then I think there's a 60-day period after that before the law goes into effect. Or the mayor has to sign within 60 days. I'm sure that we're at least 2 months away from them being able to apply for that under the SD.
So we'll probably wait. And I mention it because this group did oppose that change, which is still in process apparently. Utility undergrounding, do we have any update reports? Emily Caldwell couldn't be here.
No, we don't, we haven't, we
Okay.
have not received anything concrete from the city.
Any updates on the traffic?
Yes.
All right.
City Traffic Engineering Department has confirmed that they received our letter. So now we wait. The person who contacted me said that they will respond to each individual component when they have finished reviewing it. So,
It could take a while. You had a lot of points.
oh yeah, I'm assuming it will take a while.
Yeah.
So if in another few months I don't hear back, I now have a name and an email address.
Have we confirmed their confirmation that we received the confirmation? We should wait like 3 months and then we'll send a confirmation.
And that's better than the arborist, okay?
That's true.
It's something.
Yeah. Congratulations and thank you for following up. Any other business? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn if you help put away the tables and chairs.
I'll make that motion.
And is there a second? I'll second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We're out of here. Bye, Gerald.